right, James Bond, Jacob Elordi. Has he been offered the role of James Bond? Has he accepted the role of James Bond in Amazon and Denis Villeneuve's Bond 26? Is he going to be the next James Bond? We don't know. There's a rumor out there. I have a couple articles pulled up. Let me share my screen here. Desktop one, share. As to whether or not Jacob Elordi has been offered the role of James Bond. Now, this comes from a source on Twitter called Dumoy, I believe I'm saying that right, that he has been offered the role of James Bond in Denis Villeneuve's, I read that so wrong before, upcoming 007 film for Amazon MGM Studios. And has he? Well, everybody's kind of taken this without a grain of salt. Everybody's taking this as fact. My thing is that who the hell is Dumoy? What source is this? What really actually gets me thinking that this could be true is the fact, how do I unshare my screen here? Is the fact that once Amazon acquired full creative control from Eon Productions and Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, the types of people they were looking at to play James Bond were Harris Dickinson, Tom Holland, and Jacob Elordi. Now, out of those three, yes, I would prefer Jacob Elordi. I think he's probably the best one, the most logical candidates to play James Bond. Harris Dickinson doesn't strike me as James Bond at all. I would hate it if Tom Holland is James Bond. This dude is too popular already. The allure of Bond is that you're not supposed to already be an established celebrity. Bond is what makes you a celebrity, but Amazon just doesn't seem to really understand that. They want an already established star. It would be way too distracting for me if I saw somebody like Tom Holland, Idris Elba, Tom Hardy, or even Henry Cavill. Sorry, Henry Cavill fans, I don't want that. I don't think anybody wants that at this point because it would just be way too distracting, and they're way too well known, and it would just make the movie feel like it's just another, like, oh, they're playing one of their characters. Like, every time I watch Tom Holland, I feel like I'm just watching Peter Parker and Spider-Man. With Jacob Elordi, though, and Harris Dickinson, I mean, I've seen him in what? Kingsman, that's it. The Kingsman prequel. And even in that, I'm like, this dude does not strike me as Bond at all. Now, Jacob Elordi, sure, I could kind of see it. And I see the argument for Jacob Elordi. He's got the charm. He probably has the toughness. There's rumors out there that he's way too tall. But, you know, with different camera angles, you can make it work. I don't know. When I look at Jacob Elordi, I'm going to share my screen again. When I look at Jacob Elordi, I mean, it's another Australian actor, which would be interesting because, I mean, George Lazenby was Australian, but he's got the Bond look here, I think. I think he actually looks really good. That could be a good James Bond look for him. My thing with Jacob Elordi is that, yeah, he probably has the charm. He probably has the toughness. The height doesn't necessarily bother me all that much, but he's not as inconspicuous if he's that tall. My thing is that, I don't know, I look at Jacob Elordi, and he doesn't really strike me with those Bond type of vibes, except for maybe this picture that I had up before, this one. I don't know, I look at him, like a couple of these, like here, maybe right here, maybe here. I mean, obviously, they want to skew younger. You have a young 007 in 007 First Light, which is an origin story for James Bond. So you already have a 26-year-old James Bond in that game. So of course they're going to skew a lot younger so that they can hold the role for as long as they possibly can. I have a feeling that they're going to cast somebody in their late 20s, early 30s so that they can hold it till they're about early to mid 50s for a good 20-year gap. I don't know how many movies we're going to have with this actor, whoever plays James Bond next, but I don't know. I don't have the vibes of Jacob Elordi as Bond. Like here, I don't see this picture right here on his Wikipedia page as like striking me as like, oh yeah, that's Bond. That is, to me, that's not really Bond. I feel like Jacob Elordi has more of the vibe of like somebody who should be in a Beatles biopic rather than James Bond, but that's just me. The rumor is too that this guy, Callum Turner, if you don't know who he is, he's the cooler of the Scamander brothers in the Fantastic Beasts movies, that he's also in the running. And what kind of gets me thinking that he's going to be Bond is his recent comments at, I think it was the Berlin Film Festival, where they asked him about it. He was quite cagey about it. He dodged the question a little bit. Kind of a dick about it, but he dodged it. I don't really see him as Bond either. I mean, I could see it more than Jacob Elordi, but I don't know. Like, when I look at Callum Turner, or Calum Turner, however the hell you say his name, what the hell is this picture? I kind of look at him more as like a Gustav Graves type of guy. Like he would be a great Bond villain, I think. But as Bond, I'm just not really seeing it. I see it a little bit more than Jacob Elordi. But here's why I'm taking these casting rumors like this, that Jacob Elordi has been offered the role of Bond by Amazon and this by Dumoy. Like I don't know the source Dumoy, but everybody thinks that this is actually like a credible source. I have no idea who this source is. This could be like the Daily Mail or the Sun, those British tabloids, for all we know. For all we know, they could be right. Maybe Jacob Elordi did get offered the role of Bond, and who knows if he has accepted it. I would be on board, I guess. Jacob Elordi is probably a decent choice. And it's one of those choices where, yeah, he's starting to get a little bit more name recognition. He's up for an Oscar for Frankenstein, but he isn't quite the household name. So it wouldn't be as distracting, even though he's nominated for an Oscar, because he's not in everything. I feel like if you ask common town folk, the average everyday person who Jacob Elordi is, they probably won't know, or they'll know who Tom Holland or Henry Cavill are. So that's another reason I can get on board with Jacob Elordi. I just don't have the vibe for that. But well, as I was saying before, I don't know this source. Who is Dumoy? What source is that? This is like the first time I've ever seen this pop up for that. And if we are going for a casting announcement now, it doesn't really make all that much sense to me because Denis Villeneuve was hired to direct this movie. He's obviously got Dune Part 3 in post-production or is still filming and all that. So he said once he's done with Dune 3, post-production, he's going to actually start the casting process. So I highly doubt that the casting process would begin right now. And I highly doubt that Denis Villeneuve would not be a part of it. Like, you would want to make sure that you are launching a very successful Bond. I think Martin Campbell should be directing the movie. That's just my personal opinion. He has successfully launched 2 Bond actors, but that's just me. I don't know. It doesn't really strike me as something like, I feel like Amy Pascal and David Heyman are going to play it more how Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson played it, where they don't want all these spinoffs. They don't want to do what Amazon's going to tell them to do. But maybe that's why Amazon hired Amy Pascal and David Heyman to lead the series going forward, because they can just do Amazon's bidding and they'll just listen to what Amazon tells them. Because there's that whole thing where Jeff Bezos wanted to get rid of Barbara Broccoli because she called Amazon fucking idiots, which they pretty much are. So I don't know. I do think that the rumors of him being Bond, I feel like he's being peddled to the forefront by Amazon. I also feel like Callum Turner is in the running. However, more credible and reliable sources have said after Denis is done with Dune Part 3's post-production work, the casting process for Bond 26 will begin, and it'll be an unknown young actor. So that kind of conflicts with everything that we are seeing here with this source Dumoy and Jacob Elordi being offered Bond, and even Callum Turner. I mean, Callum Turner's very less well known than Jacob Elordi. So maybe that could be it. How old is Callum Turner? Let's actually look that up. I know Jacob Elordi is 29. So by the time you get a Bond movie off the ground, you're going to be probably around Lazenby age, just slightly younger than Connery once it's released. So I think if Jacob Elordi is actually James Bond, you could be looking at something maybe around like 2028, 2029, which would be 3 years. He'd be around 32, 33. So yeah, he'd be a young Bond. Callum Turner is 36. I don't think that that's going to happen, because I don't think that this is going to be what they want to do with Bond. They want somebody, I think, in their late 20s to early 30s who can hold the role longer than Daniel Craig held the role. I mean, Daniel Craig was 37 when he was cast, 38 when Casino Royale came out. He was 53 when No Time to Die was released, and that's when he stepped down. I still consider Craig the incumbent Bond until Bond is cast. Like, once an actor is cast as Bond, Pierce Brosnan was the incumbent Bond until the moment Daniel Craig was announced. That's kind of how I look at it. You also have to take into account, if Callum Turner does end up being Bond, what does that mean for the title song? He's engaged to Dua Lipa. Dua Lipa will probably sing the song. So I don't know. I'm taking this whole thing with a grain of salt. I'm not buying into the fact that Elordi has been offered the role of Bond. If he is offered the role of Bond and he accepts it, it's just a wait and see type of thing for me. I can't judge it too harshly off the bat, like we did with Daniel Craig as James Bond, like we did with Christian Bale as Batman, like we even did with Ben Affleck as Batman. I have to see how it plays out on screen, and it might need a movie or two to actually like really sink in and really determine whether or not they are a good Bond. Like I said, he just doesn't strike me as the Bond vibes, and nor does Callum Turner. Callum Turner feels like Gustav Graves' long lost brother or something. But I could see both of them being Bond in a way. Like, it wouldn't bother me or shock me if either of them ended up being James Bond. I just want somebody, I don't know, I want what Jacob Elordi has, like the charm, the toughness, but also you got to have the Bond vibes. And I don't really know how I feel about a really young James Bond. I'm still on the fence with it of 007 First Light. Like, looks like an amazing game, and I'm getting more used to there being a younger James Bond that's younger than me. I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about TikTok era Bond on the big screen. It's going to be weird. As with every James Bond actor transition, it's going to be a massive adjustment period going from Daniel Craig to Jacob Elordi or Callum Turner or whoever they may cast. But I don't know. I'm taking this rumor with a grain of salt. I don't think that Dumoy is a credible source at all. I have no idea. I've never heard of this source before. I feel like, in my eyes, this is like the Daily Mail or the Sun, just tabloids spitting out tabloid rumors for the sake of getting some traction and getting some notoriety so that people can actually read their magazines and puff pieces and all that. That's just me. But I mean, if either of these two choices do happen, and if Elordi is actually in the running and has actually been offered the role, I won't be against it. But again, it's something that I gotta see play out on the big screen. So, do you guys think Jacob Elordi has been offered the role of James Bond? Let me know in the comments below. I'll leave my links to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. I'll see you at the movies somewhere.